Oh my gosh, that was such a fun episode, Marci. We got to talk to Kimberly Grustas. She's this expert on kids and hormones and some cool
Puberty.
products. Puberty, yes.
Yeah.
We talked about some old lady hormones too. but
Yeah.
this was a fun one, you guys. But it also shared a lot of emotional pieces about mother-daughter relationships and how mothers can be modeling for their kids around self-love.
Yeah, and there's awareness around the products that we put on our skin, and this is Kim's, her passion and her business, Good For You Girls products, and we're going to drop all those links in the show notes, but she offered us a lovely 20% off coupon code, and that is Warrior20, so you can use that one time to get 20% off of your purchase, so that's a really lovely enticement to get yourself something nice without a bunch of chemicals in it. I'm going to definitely do that, including deodorants. We were just talking about that. So she's got some of those too that are not full of aluminum or other products that you don't want on your skin.
So this is a twofer. You can listen and learn all kinds of things and then go shopping when you're done.
Yeah, it's something good for you.
Yes.
The world is a lot right now. Are you feeling it? We all need new tools to help us walk through the chaos with grace, ease, and compassion for each other and for ourselves. In this podcast, you'll hear from parents, educators, and other experts who can bring perspective to the monumental job of parenting. It's time to level up and be warriors for our kids and our communities. This is the Warrior Parent Podcast. I'm Marci Mitchell.
And I'm Debbie DiManno. As parents, we understand that it really does take a village to raise our kids. We hope that this podcast serves to create and support that community for you. Join us as we discuss and practice our core tools, which are proven mind-body techniques that can be used by anyone to improve your life on a daily basis.
Welcome to the Warrior Parent Podcast. We are very happy to have you joining us again today. And today we will be speaking with Kimberly Grustas, who started Good For You Girls to keep girls away from toxic chemicals during puberty. With over 15 years in natural product and nutrition industries, Kim has advanced knowledge of the dangers of even trace amounts of estrogenic chemicals during the delicate transformation from girlhood to adulthood. Kimberly's two daughters had asthma and allergies, and when they were entering puberty, she was appalled at the ingredients in products marketed to young girls. The lack of safe, effective, and age-appropriate products, combined with her knowledge about the lowering age of puberty, was all she needed to launch this transformative brand to help other moms keep their daughters safe. Today, Kim will be talking with us about the importance of normalizing conversations around puberty with girls as well as boys. And this is really an important topic. So we're so grateful to have you here, Kim. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited about this conversation. We just had a little off time with Kimberly, and we're going to be long time friends. I can tell already.
That always happens on the podcast. I love it.
I know. But she is talking about some subjects that are near and dear to my heart. As most of the viewers know, I've had my own health issues, and so many of them I've understood to be around our environment. So this is not about me. This is about our young women and how all of these things are affecting the young women in our lives. And I am super excited to dig in. So with that, Kimberly, why don't you give us a little bit of background about how you came to do this amazing work and about your daughters?
Great, thank you. I love talking about my girls. My true guinea pigs in this world. But I come from the nutrition industry. I'm a creative director by trade. So I worked in publishing, and I was a fitness nut back in the day. And so I really love nutrition and fitness. And when an opportunity came up at a nutrition company to be their creative director, I grabbed it. I was super excited about it. And I was working with protein powders, amino acids, creatine, all the functions of the body and that sort of thing within health and wellness. And that company I worked there for several years. It ended up selling. And I went to work for an advertising agency. And all of these nutrition companies were coming out of the woodwork to hire me. I guess I was one of the only female in a male-dominated industry, and they loved my
Interesting.
style because I talked about ingredients. I
Yeah.
talked about that rather than some of the testosterone-driven messaging that they had done previously. So that agency offered me a partnership, and instead of taking that partnership, I launched my own agency in 2000. Yeah, so I
Girl
decided,
power, yeah.
and yeah, so, and that was really crazy because 4 months later, after launching my company, I was pregnant with my first daughter.
Oh,
So, I'm walking into clients pregnant and they're saying, "We're hiring you." I'm like, "Yes, you are." I've got this. So fast forward, my oldest daughter was born with severe asthma and allergies. We were running her to the emergency room with EpiPens and breathing treatments and things like that. She had a really interesting condition. It was a silent form of asthma, so she wasn't wheezing, or you wouldn't even know she was sick, but her body would just go limp, and she would have no oxygen saturation. And so the little bacilli would spasm for the smallest things. And one of the trips to the emergency room, the doctor says, "Do you know how serious this is?" And I cried and said, "Yes, I do. I get it." And from that point on, it was 100% research driven. I wanted to know what her triggers were, what she could. She also had food allergies. So there was no fragrance, no, no candles, no synthetic fragrance, no laundry detergent, no cleaning. I mean, it was baking soda and vinegar.
yeah.
And then really for her skin, there was thankfully at that time, there was baby products that were clean, relatively clean. So I could use,
Except for baby powder.
except for baby powder. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Right.
So, we really figured her out, but I was that mom with the EpiPen in my purse and kind of thing. And then 2 years later, her sister was born. My younger daughter was born. Similar condition, not quite as bad. She had asthma, different food allergies, but she had a chronic hive disorder and eczema, which was crazy because here I was clean. I mean, I made their baby food, for Pete's sake. You know what I mean? I was that kind of mom. And so then it was like another thing of research because now the skin was involved. So where my older daughter had the upper respiratory issues, her skin wasn't involved. So this really put me on the path to really understanding the inside, what's going on in your body is coming out your skin, and that your skin being your largest organ.
Yeah.
So again, figured it all out. I became the go-to mom of all my friends when they ever wanted to learn about a new product or things, and I yapped about it all the time, drove them nuts.
Yeah.
But it was such a fun topic because they all had kids as well. So they were very grateful for the information. So fast forward to 2008, we were in Target, and my girls loved Hannah Montana.
Yeah.
She was like, we even went to the concert, to surprise the concert.
Yeah.
But my daughter, there was a bath set, and she beelined for it, and she picked it up, and she says, "Oh, mommy, can we buy this?"
Right.
And I flipped it over. I was just shocked. I was like, this is crap. It was toxic, made in China. It had, I don't know, two lines of just complete dyes, fragrances, just ingredients. And because I had been doing my own thing, I really wasn't aware what was out there, right? I was in my little bubble, my natural bubble.
Right.
And I loved, being in my, my natural bubble. But two things happened at that moment. One is I became painfully aware of what companies were slathering on our daughters.
Yes.
I became aware of the messaging. So maybe three things: the messaging behind how companies are speaking to our girls, and also the fact that the girls wanted in. The young girls really want to be part of this conversation. They're very aware of what's going on in the world, right?
Yeah.
So that really was the start for me. And I came back to my office and I researched, and lo and behold, I couldn't find anything. It was baby.
So
Was
what year was this again?
aging. What's that?
2008? 2008?
2008.
And so how old were your daughters at the time?
6 and 8.
6 and oh wow, little. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they were 6 and 8. And so I was smack dab in that preteen, the kid space.
Yeah.
And so there was nothing. And I did not honestly have to think long and hard about this. And I came up with the name Good For You Girls in the shower one day before I even came up like with the product. I came up with a name and I said, this is so what it is. It's Good For You Girls. And I've gotten a lot of flack over the years about the girl thing being, just girls and not boys. But there's a developmental piece of puberty for girls. There's an emotional piece that is so crucial. And I really wanted to honor and respect it because it truly is a rite of passage.
Yes.
And ownership plays a huge part in that. When a girl feels, she's taking ownership of her body, that this is hers.
Yeah.
And I wanted to speak respectfully to that. And
Yeah,
that's
and just because you're making a product specifically for preteen girls doesn't mean that you don't think preteen boys matter. You get to choose
absolutely.
that this is my cause here, and you're a mother of young girls. And I mean, I know that things change in terms of how boys and girls are handling these kinds of products, but I still think there's probably way more preteen girls who are looking at lotions and skin creams and stuff than there are boys. So it is, it's a bigger
and
it's a problem in that
their
sense.
actual physical puberty, you think that boys go through it earlier, but they don't. It's actually girls go through it actually earlier. It's a much longer transition.
Yeah.
And boys don't even want to bathe, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes it's
Yeah,
hard.
I don't know that they're putting a lot of lotion. I mean, some of them maybe, but in general, the problem
and
is
there's not really that psychological love
Yeah.
hug, that goes along with it. And I wanted something that really spoke also about the mother-daughter relationship and the fact that I know this is coming. I love and respect you, and we're going to help you. Like, I'm going to help you through this transition and creating that bonding, because at that age, moms are still the rock star, right? We are the ultimate influencer in our girls' world. So it really, when you're getting her younger and you're giving her this gift of, self-care, self-love, it means a lot.
That's so important. That's so important what you said, that the mother is the ultimate influencer at that stage. We know that you can lose that status later. So, and then the thought that you're talking about this gift, this love, the gift is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're giving them this knowledge about something that matters about their body and what they're putting on it. And if they learn that early, that, because I didn't learn that, I was sharing with Kim before we started recording that, I'm a person who, I'm not the sciencey one. Deb's the sciencey one, but I love me some lotion. I'm a dry skin woman, and I cover myself in lotion, and I like it thick, and I like it kind of greasy, and I like it to smell nice, but I never would pick up the lotion and look on the back and say, oh, what is in this? For the most part, as I've aged, I look a little bit more at those things, but having that knowledge early that, oh, I'm going to spread this on my skin, largest organ, as you're saying, in the body. I'm gonna spread this all over my skin. I wonder what's in it. To have that knowledge that, let me have a moment to think about this before I cover myself in that. That is a gift.
Well, I want to say something about that too. So I'm older, and so I think about my relationship with my mother. I'm 60, just so you know, and this was never a discussion. This was never a discussion about self-love, about how you take care of yourself. Even I think, starting your period and all that was really kind of a taboo, kind of weird thing. Like, okay, like we'll get you some pads, but when you go to the grocery store, it's a little awkward. I mean, that was the extent of the conversation about a woman learning to love herself.
Absolutely. And I had a very similar mom, where it was not, she did not pamper herself or take care of herself. It was that generation, right? They were the Depression generation, really used to going without kind of thing. And I won't get into the sad part, but it's a little sad. So you know how you often think about your journey and why you do what you do?
Yes.
Um,
Every
it
day.
was, it
Yes.
was, well, it was recently. I mean, yes, I'm a mom and my girls thing, but I made a connection a few years ago, which was actually very deep. When I was 12, my brother was killed on a motorcycle,
Mm,
and it really changed the family dynamic. And
Yes.
I was going through puberty, and with my
Mhm.
parents, it really couldn't handle, they just went in a great depression.
Yeah.
Um, I was alone. I didn't have that support,
Yeah.
so that for me, it was just a few years ago when I said, why am I so passionate? Like, why do I love this demographic? So like, I get teary just like saying it.
sure.
Um, because I remember, and I think there's so much trauma, um, puberty trauma is a real thing. And
Yeah.
if you ask most women, it really unites us. We remember what it was, when you got your first period. Where were you when you first got your period?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is something we never forget, the breast development and the growth spurts and
Yes.
the aching bones and the joints and
Yes.
the confusion. And
Yeah.
so I think so much we've glossed it. Look at me crying. I think so much we've glossed it over. And like you said,
Yeah.
we've made it a taboo, and society says, oh, suck it up and get over it.
Right.
Right.
It's
Yes.
the worst thing you can tell
Yes.
Yes.
a girl that is going through
Right.
these changes.
And not just suck it up and get over it, but don't talk about it. Don't like it's shameful, it's embarrassing. Don't talk about it. You talk about, I've never heard that term, puberty trauma. It makes total sense.
It
But I
is.
think of my grandmother, my Sicilian grandmother, 15th child in this enormous family in Sicily in a small village. And she had 9 brothers and 3 sisters, and then there were children that didn't survive. So that was,
Wow.
that was what came out of that. And she's in this, basically 2-room structure in Sicily, right around the turn of the century, early 1900s. And nobody told her about, actually, I think she came over when she was 10, so she probably got her period over here, but in America, because her family came over, but nobody told her about it. So I remember her telling me she thought she was dying, because
Yeah.
one day she started bleeding and she thought she was dying, and she
Yeah.
had no idea. And
Yeah.
so of course, in my generation, 2 generations later, we do get like this day in 5th grade where the boys go to one room and the girls go to the other, and you learn
Yes.
I
about
would love to rewrite that script.
menstruation.
Yes. Yes.
So like it's progress. At least I knew it was coming, but it was still very taboo. It was still, I remember a friend in junior high school getting her period once, and was on her pants and was on the chair, and it was like, oh my God, like crisis mode. Whereas like it's just a normal bodily thing. If we could have these conversations, like you're saying, normalize them, talk about them, boys and girls, everyone, this is what happens. It's different for you, but we're all going through our stuff, and it's normal, and we can just support each other.
Right.
That's
And
a
yeah, and
big goal.
here's an important thing to understand too, is the average age of puberty in the 40s was 14. It's
Yeah.
now 11. So
Right.
Yes.
so when we're having these experiences and we're dealing with it, there's a very different, an 11-year-old brain and a 14-year-old brain processes
Yes.
extremely differently,
Mhm.
right? So,
Yes.
yes, we've come a long way in the products that they use and whatever, but it's still younger. And breast development used to happen at the same time. And now what we're finding is breast development is almost happening 2 years earlier
Really?
at
Wow.
menstruation.
Mm.
So what I like to explain to people, is that your body's an organic machine, right? So you eat a carbohydrate, your body knows what to do with it. You eat a protein, your
Mhm.
body knows what to do with it. You eat a fat, it knows what to do with it, right? So now if you're introducing anything that is chemical based, right, your body, it takes it in. Again, we talked, your skin's your largest organ. So anything now you put on your body, the closest chemical compound in your body that it thinks these chemicals are, fragrance, dyes, phthalates, preservatives, is estrogen.
Yes.
So we
Mm.
call these estrogenic
Jim.
chemicals,
Yep.
meaning they're mimicking estrogen in the body.
Yes.
And unlike your digestive system, where when it hits your stomach, these things are broken down, by your stomach acids, your skin doesn't have any stomach acids. There's no stop. There's nothing to say, hey, what is this? It's just going right into your bloodstream. And so understanding and the idea of puberty, again, puberty is not just about the reproductive system, and puberty doesn't happen in the reproductive system. Puberty happens in the hypothalamus. And then it goes down to the pituitary gland. And not only are those, involved, it's also the adrenals on top of your kidneys that are also a factor. They monitor, a hormone that can, is a pubic hair, body odor, and things like that. So, it's this I love the word cascade, because it's this delicate cascade, but it's the bones, it's the neurological system, it's your blood. Young people through puberty are actually getting their adult pulse. Their melatonin changes almost 3 hours later than that's why kids don't sleep. And so I love to have the conversation with girls when they're earlier that it's a superpower, that what their bodies are doing is absolutely incredible. Like to empower them so that they're not scared. We do have a generation of girls that are terrified of what their bodies are doing naturally, right? And that's new to this generation. While we had fear around, okay, what is this thing? We never hated our bodies. This is a new phenomenon that we're seeing. And I think it is because it's younger, right? It's because it's happening younger that they don't have the cognitive ability to understand more the body. So it is more fearful to them, right? That they don't like this out of control.
And then the parents are not prepared at that early age to be able to start having this conversation, because for them it feels inappropriate. Like, wow, like she's only
right again because
old.
we're talking about it in a reproductive system way rather than in a body growth way. Right. So anytime you're marking that door, right, anytime you're marking the door with the height every year on the birthday, whatever, that's a great time to talk about the why. You're not just Jack and the Beanstalk. I mean, there's these phenomenal things that are happening in your body that's why you're growing. And moms will ask me, like, when do I start? When they start wanting to bathe on their own. When you are no longer bathing them, that is your signal that you need to prep, that you need to get them the products they need, teach them how to do it. And then that starts that independence, because that's part of that girl, right? They want that independence, feel good, and ownership of their bodies. Because up until when they're little, you tell them where to go, what to eat, right? All of that. And so now you're guiding that. And you'd be surprised, like, how cool they think you are. Like, you're buying them their own stuff, and it's, and it makes sense, like, the little kid bath toy. That's why you do it, right? Because then they think it's fun. Well, now they don't want the kiddie bath stuff, right? They don't want that's kiddie, right? So they actually will avoid it and say, oh no, I'm too old, I'm too grown up for that. But during this cascade, they're getting all of these little signals that it's now time to start puberty, and with these estrogenic chemicals. So it's an important time, more than just what you're putting on your skin is what's happening inside. But again, that conversation about why you're special enough to care about it. Right? Like why this is important. And now an interesting fact is usually the next age a girl or a woman cares about what she's ingesting or putting on her body is pregnancy.
Oh yeah. I was the freak. I read every label anyway, but I was the freakazoid on that one.
So but what a long span of young adulthood where they are exposed. And if they're learning that a natural product, and that's why my product, they're really lovely. I mean, they're formulated beautifully.
Yeah.
It's not just,
Yeah.
a 3-ingredient line. I mean, 3 ingredients in each product. It's a very well formulated product. But I wanted to also show them that naturals worked. Right.
Yes.
And that they could, they could enjoy them, and they worked.
Yeah.
And so then when they're reading the labels and they're choosing the products, they would be a little bit more critical.
So those parents who are listening, now we're going to go techie. We're going to go science now, Marci.
I'll try to keep up.
Yeah. What are those ingredients that they're looking for if they're not buying your product, because it's in every other product? I mean, I've gotten to the point where I'm just using plain old coconut oil. Like it's basic. It's, it's all the things. It's vinegar, and I'm washing my
Right.
clothes and soda.
And
I like all that. But tell people, if you could educate people about what it is they're trying to avoid. I know there's there's
here's a,
hundreds of them, but
yes.
the top 5 maybe would be
Well,
helpful.
I think so. So there's a lot that's hidden. First of all, dyes, no.
Yes.
Anything that has a dye, whatever. Try to avoid anything that has a dye.
Yeah.
I've often wondered about that. Why do things that need to be dyed? Like I always thought about it. This is just a little tangent, but like with cough syrup with babies or those kinds of syrups and medicines, and they always dye them like bright pink. And of course, they always spill them when you're trying to give them, and then they're staining their clothes. And I remember thinking, why does this need to be pink? This doesn't need to be pink. And probably same thing with the lotions. Like, let
Yeah,
them just
that's
be who
actually
they
just
are.
a marketing visual thing, because
Yeah.
when you're
And
formulating
now,
products, a lot of times these ingredients don't make a nice color,
yeah.
right? They don't
And we
make a
need
nice
to get
color.
over that and just be okay with that. Why should
100%.
things be a certain color? Like, let the bottle be a color, I guess, if you need that color, but that's
Right.
interesting. So starting with
100%.
dyes,
Yeah.
good.
And then so fragrance as well. Now,
Mm.
there are some new laws coming down as far as disclosing fragrance, because we know that the word fragrance can hide so many chemicals.
Mm.
And it's synthetic synthetic fragrances.
Yeah.
So if something has a fragrance in it, we use a natural fragrance. So it's very expensive, but we wanted experiential.
Yeah.
So when you use it, adults, we don't care so much. Sometimes if it says it, make your wrinkles go away, you don't care what it smells like, right? You're just like, oh, I want to get my wrinkles, right?
Yeah.
Young people are very sensitive. Their olfactory
Yeah.
senses are very different. So we wanted to do something so it's a citrus. Our
I
facial
love citrus. I love the smells. I totally get what you're saying. It's an
and
experience
it's
when you're
just enough.
putting
Our
product on.
moisturizer does not have any scent in it.
Mm.
But our cleanser and toner has a little bit of citrus in it.
Mm.
But so alcohol is a big one.
To avoid.
Products to avoid.
Mm.
Anything with a PEG, polyethylene glycol.
Mm.
So that. So someone once told me way back in the day, they called it the methyl ethyl sisters. Like, it's an easy way to remember. The methyl ethyl sisters. So methylparaben, polyparaben, propylparaben, PEGs, that sort of thing. The Environmental Working Group is a really wonderful resource too, about ingredients to avoid. They have a great website.
Yeah, there's lots of apps you can use right now too that will tell you.
Well, I have to investigate them, but I have to share with your listeners, those are pay to play. So as a brand, I have to pay them to be on that app. So
not the one I'm using.
Which one? Oh, okay.
I told you I was using the Pampa method. We'll talk about that later. But it does all ingredients. So those
great.
in your food, those in your cleaners.
Great. Let me know what that one is offline. But
yes.
So that's just important to know too, is like where are you getting your source. So those kind of ingredients, those type of ingredients are for everybody, like just everybody to stay away from. But when we're talking girls, or we're talking young people, also anything that's anti-aging, meaning it's an alpha hydroxy acid or a beta acid, or things like that, I mean, it just drives me crazy, this whole Sephora kid thing where girls, 12-year-olds are running to Sephora. it drives me insane because like they are the goal, right? Their skin is the goal. And,
Yeah.
for all of us, I'm like, why are you running to anti-aging products?
Yeah.
The dangers of anything that is exfoliating the skin too fast and exposing the lower layers of the skin is that now you're exposing you've upset the microbiome, which is there
Yep.
to protect you from environmental toxins and harmful ingredients, but it's also exposing the skin to UV damage.
Mm.
So at premature, so sebum is a wonderful ingredient. Sebum production starts about age 9. And if you've ever seen a baby, a newborn, right out of the womb, it's covered in this white thick stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's sebum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So sebum is the first thing I
Give
know,
me some
like,
of
right?
that.
It's so
Give me
good.
some of that. Yes.
I know, it's so good. So, at again, age 9, because of the hormonal changes and because of growth, right? Your body is trying to hydrate itself
Sure.
Mhm.
because, right? So, so that sebum should never be totally eliminated. That's your friend. And
Mhm.
you'll find that, people who've had, a lot of sebum production or felt like they had oily skin younger actually age more gracefully,
Sure.
Yes.
Makes sense.
right? So
Yeah.
it's a lot like us dry girls.
Yes, I'm a dry girl too.
I'm
Yeah.
dry. Yeah.
So we want to work with and we want to thin out. And a lot of times the issues that young people are having are actually related to bacteria rather than hormones. If you think about their day, they're touching their face, they're leaning on their hands, they're at school, they don't have the opportunity to go to the bathroom and wash their hands. They're touching everything, and this transfers to their skin. So, it's you have to early identify, is this a hormonal acne or is this really just a bacterial type of acne? Where we can treat it with, a willow herb or an aloe and a meadowsweet extract. That's what we have in our products that help, target the bacteria without upsetting the microbiome.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's also, dangerous for the young people that are doing
Yeah.
too much too soon, because it does put your skin, your skin has memory and it just puts them, gets it crazy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It can go out of control too fast, and then
Yeah.
you've really got a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about plastics and microplastics a little bit? I know you have a background in nutrition, but this is like high on my list right now. And talk about hormone mimicking, right? It is all
Yes.
coming from the plastics and the seepage of the plastics into everything. And now the statistics are that 98% of people in the United States are full of plastic. And now the small pieces are crossing the blood-brain barrier in our brains. And so it's not just the superficial stuff, but it's affecting hormones, testosterone. Like, so now as kids are getting older, they're trying to reproduce and they're having all these issues. So do you mind speaking to plastics a little bit? And
Well, we know so much more, and if we're ignoring it, shame on us, right? I mean, we know. I mean,
yes.
that's why. Remember those little scrubs with the little beads, the plastic beads in there? Remember, they
Yeah.
were like, "Oh yeah, it's killing the fish," and it's like, "Yeah, it's in your body." I mean, that's just an example. And the government gave these big companies who were using the microplastics 5 years to get rid of them, because that's how much inventory they had on the shelf. So the government gave them 5 years before they had to get rid of these things,
Yeah.
right? So again, just understanding that this organ of ours is, really is susceptible. So we need to pick our battles, right? What's
Yes.
important to us? What can we stay away from? And after COVID, I think everybody was felt really restricted. So what we're dealing with now, I'm a good watcher of what happens. And right now, what we're dealing with is this mass consumption, right? We're dealing with a lot of that, and we're seeing that in mass consumerism, where people are, they feel like, oh, I'm going to buy this, and beauty companies really have adjusted and come down. So a lot of these products or companies that used to be more prestige
Mm-hmm.
are coming down, and now we've got a masstige category.
Mastige.
instead of a product,
Interesting.
mastige it's called, right?
Mhm.
So instead of it being a, $40, $50, $60 product, they're making it much more. It's $15 or $18. So now
Yes.
the consumer can buy one in every scent or every flavor, every color, right?
Mhm.
So they're making it because it's the mass. And I think we're going to see this change. I believe I'm a big believer in the pendulum. So I
Yes.
think now we're coming from excess, and I think it's going to start coming back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm very encouraged by that, so
Yeah.
that the
Well, I
next
think
generation of young people will learn to be, a little bit more educated, and less is more kind
Well,
of thing.
I
Yeah.
think they just naturally are.
Yeah.
Marci and I tell this funny story. So we did these before COVID. We used to do these live workshops with kids, and we're teaching them nutrition and hydration and all the things and how to deal with their stress and yada yada yada. And then we gave them surveys at the end of the 2.5 days or whatever. And the only negative feedback was that we had plastic water bottles. They were not happy about it, and that was
Yeah.
the big takeaway. Like, hey, you know what, they do have a
I get
knowing
it.
about this.
Yeah,
They
no, I think society's done a good job about the whole plastic and the bottles, and that's why, of course, the
Yeah.
madness with the Stanley cups and the girls,
Yes.
everybody's walking around with their
Yeah.
Stanley. So yes, I
Go,
think,
yeah, go glass if you ask me.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I think it's just so important in everything. And
Yeah.
again, trace is trace, but trace times a million is a heck of a lot.
yeah,
Right. And so
Interesting.
one person can say, oh, it's just a trace amount of this, or it's a trace amount. It absolutely adds up.
yeah.
And again, you think of the amount of products that a young woman uses in her daily skincare routine, it can get really insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what you said about what a transformative time for a young girl is. Her skin it first of all doesn't need anti-aging, but also there's so much change going on. You don't need these things coming at you that you don't need coming at you. And, I seem to get up on my soapbox every time, but when we've got in this capitalist society where all that matters is profit, that's why it's more important to let companies use up 5 years of a product that we know is damaging our planet than to say, no, stop. We know it's bad. Stop right now. Instead of, no, we got to let you use that for your bottom line and dump it into the ocean. Like we
Yeah,
got
well,
to,
you don't even want to know the horror stories of where all that hand sanitizer went from 2020.
yeah,
That's a
Oh, yeah.
whole nother story.
My goodness.
But here's what I think. I think as consumers, we are more powerful.
we are.
We
We
have the
absolutely
ability,
are.
right? And I also want to give your listeners this really great tip. When if you're blessed to have a daughter just entering this time,
Yeah.
use it for you. Now's the time for you, because again, they are watching everything you do. You don't know
Mm.
who they are, but you are. And
Yeah.
we are stressed out, burnt out, running around like crazy people.
Yes.
Right. So now we know we can leave them alone and they're not going to kill themselves. Right. They're old enough. Now moms can regroup. So when
Mm.
you're teaching her self-care, self-love,
Yeah.
teach yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Demonstrate it.
Demonstrate
Walk
it.
the walk.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Slow down. Stop those adrenals, right? Give your body time to recover. Take that me time.
Yeah.
Teach her how she should do it right, because you weren't taught that way.
Right.
Right. We have, we talk about as parents all these opportunities to break the cycle or break the
Yes.
pattern.
Yes.
Break the pattern.
Yeah.
Right. And
Make something new and better.
if you're talking about the, armpit hair and stinky armpits and things like that when they're 8, and the conversations are just so much easier than when they're older, and the subjects become bigger and what you think would be more heavy, but they're really not. The body is amazing and incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also one thing I learned the other day, which I think was just fascinating, because I'm always still learning, and we're getting new studies out. I love that. So when a girl's body goes through puberty, she has that bone growth,
Mhm.
right? Did you know in menopause, it's actually the same amount in reverse.
It feels like it. Let me just tell you, I feel it. I remember not being able to sleep when I was that young age because my legs were aching, and I'm right back there now.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And so, but it was, the study
Wow.
was, it was the exact same amount.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
know, so
Wow.
that's why at this age, we need to nourish them,
Yes.
right? They need, because we know we can help them age better.
Yeah.
Right. And we're the moms. We could be the head, but we can make it fun, right? We could do it together. So
Yes.
I love the idea of really letting it bond a mother and daughter, or a mother and
Yes.
son, over the education and that next step, and being really conscious of where you are in your space, in your world, and
Yes.
how you care for yourself. I think
That's
ultimately that is so critical, because we're the center of everything, and if
It's
we are
always,
not happy, healthy, and strong,
yeah.
it all goes to,
They will know. They will
It's
see
a,
it.
yeah,
yeah.
Marcy and I say it's always an inside job, and it starts with you.
Yeah. Thank you,
I've
Kim.
yes, I've had so much fun. This has been a wonderful
Great
conversation,
conversation. I
Thank
and
you.
really think the one that's coming, and you just reminded me, is, so we've talked about this in our messages, talk to girls about this, have these conversations. Nobody talked to me about all the menopause stuff. And that's our next one. Like, talk to
yes,
women
we're
about
coming.
menopause and tell us all this stuff. That I shouldn't say nobody. I mean, my mom shared stuff, but like, I could have had a book. Like, I got a book when I had kids. A book. I should have had a book for now. Menopause is coming. What to expect
Yeah,
when
and we
you're
didn't know,
menopausal?
but gosh, we know so much. We're
Yeah.
behind at our age, but I'm, I share all that stuff with any 30, 40-year-old I meet, right? Because
Yes.
it's like
Yeah,
they're the ones,
starter.
if you don't
Right.
like
Yeah,
your OBGYN and she's not testing your hormones, you leave. You go to
Yeah.
yeah.
who will
Prepare
test your hormones.
yourself, women.
Yes,
But
yes,
here's another tip too, as far as the mother-daughter, and my daughters being the guinea pigs. And I've I've gotten a lot of contact from people who do these mother-daughter workshops, and they use my products and they make the moms go wash their face as well,
yeah,
so that they're communicating authentically.
Yeah.
And so I always encourage the moms, when you have that special alone time with your daughter, take your makeup off, wash your face, pull it back. She really needs to see you without that a lot. And I think that will just help her, she won't struggle so much as far as
yes,
wanting to be something different.
yeah,
If
Yeah.
we meet them in the middle, and we can, because we know how to do it. So I think that's also a really great message
that's beautiful.
when you're
That's
having, especially when you're having like those emotional struggles with your
yeah,
daughter. Make sure that you're presenting in a very simple way to her that she can relate.
Yes.
beautiful. How can we find out more about
Yeah.
all of your goodies?
Oh, great. So good for you girls, all spelled out.com. You can come to the website. If you click on the contact or reach, it's info@goodforyougirls.com. It'll find me. So
Okay.
our products are sold on the website. They're also sold on Amazon and
Mhm.
Walmart.com.
That's
Wow.
So
great.
that's the only place. We have a select boutiques and things like that. But those are the only, and we control all that. There's nobody else that, sells it on Amazon, that, Walmart. It's only
Sure.
us. So it's coming
Yeah.
directly from us.
We will post
Beautiful.
those links for you in the show notes. And yeah, so you can find more about that. Thank you so much, Kim. It's been so
Thank
great to talk to you.
you.
Thank
Thank you. Didn't
you.
know hormones were so much fun.
Yes.
The wild
So,
ride.
yeah.
Hang on.
Depends on the
Thank you,
day.
ladies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
And now for your core mental health break. This is your opportunity to take a moment to support your mental wellness, your peace of mind, your own ease and grace. Take some time every day to support your mental health. You deserve it, and it matters.
So let's just take a moment to breathe. We'll take 3 deep intentional breaths to just bring ourselves to a place of center and calm. So breathing in through the nose, allow your chest and your belly to fill with air. Pause for a moment at the top of the breath, holding it. before you release it. You can blow it out through your mouth, like you're blowing it out through a straw, or just release it through your nose if that's more comfortable. And now again, receiving that breath in, filling the chest, filling the belly, pausing at the top of the breath, and then release it all. Releasing it slowly and intentionally, calming your nervous system. One more time. Breathing in, pausing at the top, and releasing. Thank you for pausing for yourself today. Your mental health is important, and you deserve peace, calm, and ease in your life every day. So please, choose to receive it. It is always available right at your center, your heart, your core. Stay well, friends.
Thanks for listening to the Warrior Parent Podcast, which is a production of our nonprofit, Cour Experience, who also creates and distributes Cour tools. You can find us at courexperience.org. Make sure you join us next week for another informative conversation to help you and your family show up mindfully, purposefully, and joyfully with each other and in your community.
Our Core Tools platform consists of a number of proven tools and techniques that are designed to reduce stress, anxiety, and overwhelm in spite of what's going on in your world. We want to thank Samuel Hale, LLC, for sponsoring this podcast. Technical and marketing support comes from Inspire Your Brand. Our podcast editor is Justin Beeden. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the producers, or the financial supporters. I'm Debbie DiManno.
And I'm Marci Mitchell. Thanks for listening. If you resonate with the idea of creating a community to help support kids and families, won't you join us by following the podcast and sharing this episode? You can even write a review. It truly does take a village, and we appreciate you.